Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the GBYWN Australia Podcast. I am your host, as per usual, Aston Crude. And here today I've got a very, very important interview as it pertains to the history of this podcast. In the past, I've had huge interviews with people who are big deals in WA yarding, from the likes of ICWS founders Chris Zeppelin and Daniel Johnston, people like Dan Zeppelin who are very important to WA yarding, people like Diffuser. I still need to interview Johnny V, but in the same echelon as those guys is another person who is just as important, and his thoughts on all these subjects we'll be talking today are things that people want to hear, and this is a conversation that people have been wanting to hear for a long, long time. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the founding father of the Warzone Wrestling Alliance, former WZWA Tag Team Champion, GBYWN Australian Tag Team Champion, EBW Champion, WZWA Heavyweight Champion. I'm talking to the one and only Phenomenal Jim, Jack Wallace.
It is my honour to be Phenomenal Jim in this podcast, so let's get to it.
Let's get to it, Jack. It's good to have you here. Got quite a lot to cover, so we'll get straight into it. How did you become a wrestling fan?
Well, I used to always make frequent Video Easy, Blockbuster, so on visits when there was one at Mullaloo IGA, and that's whatever that place is. And they used to have one there, and I used to always go in there. And I remember one thing that always caught my eye was wrestling. More specifically, because when I was younger and had access to Foxtel, where back when Raw was on Fox Sport, I always have very early memories of watching late Attitude Era from like 1999, 2000s, like very, very small memories, but I always remember just watching it. No idea why. My dad wasn't a fan, my mum wasn't a fan. It was just always on TV, and then I just remember watching it. And then when I'd make those visits to the video stores, they would have the VHS tapes there, and I'd always rent one out. The one I do remember watching was No Mercy 99, when Shane McMahon and the corporate ministry came out and had that big promo about No Mercy. That's one I remember always renting out, and just so on. And then I remember just buying video games and stuff for it for my PS2 at the time, and then from there I was just like hooked.
So you would say the video games were a big part of you becoming a fan?
Yeah, the SmackDown Just Bring It, to be more specific, was the first one I actually owned, and I played the shit out of that game until probably Here Comes the Pain came out.
Okay. Who were your first friends that you made that were wrestling fans?
I always didn't have many friends that were wrestling fans growing up. I mean, I had my next door neighbour at the time, Charlie. He got into wrestling with me. We'd always just watch pay-per-views. Like, pretty much anyone that was friends with me became a wrestling fan. But anyone that I already knew wasn't a fan until like they would come over and watch it with me or whatever, like when I was younger. And that kind of just leads to what became of EBW and
all that.
Or everything like that. Sorry, ENA and XGW. That's pretty much what became of that, like my friends watching wrestling with me, and then we just obviously lounge room and so on.
Yeah. So how was ENA? Was it ENA first, or
it was XGW? It was XGW first, and then we had a storyline when if Charlie Green beat me in a match, he would become the new owner. And I remember he came up to me at school in year 3 or year 4. This is back in like 2006, 2007. He just comes up to me. He's just like, I want to change the name of XGW to ENA. And I'm like, what's happening to me? He goes, Extreme Non-Stop Action. So obviously he's ripping off TNA there.
Yeah. And
that's how it became that, but because I just always refer it to XGW/ENA, it's because it was just like so much under two different names, but it's the same thing.
Yeah. Interesting. So man, you're like grade 3, grade 4, so you're like 7 or 8 when you start.
Yeah.
Right, 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah, probably about like 8 or 9 years old when I started yarding, but most of it was lounge room, fucking around and stuff like that. But that's when we got the trampoline put in 2007 for my 10th birthday.
Yeah.
And I remember that started quite a lot, like everyone would always come to my house after school and we'd all wrestle and stuff like that. We tried to film some of it, but all of us were so stupid with like video cameras. And the matches we did record, I wouldn't know how to put them on a computer, so we never really had footage of it.
Okay.
There is one video on MySpace of the ENA Royal Rumble 2008, and that's pretty much a slideshow full of photos of like really, really, really early shit.
Okay, so the only thing really is just a slideshow of pictures.
That's the only thing. That's the only evidence I have of it.
Okay, no worries. Any notable alumni from that federation? Is there anyone that we would know? Obviously, Charlie.
You guys would have met Tiger once at Revenge 2012. He was there with Charlie, and I remember no one liked him because he was being a dickhead with Charlie.
Yeah.
Notable alumni from back then.
Not
no
really.
one that you guys would know, I don't think.
That's all right. Any notable memories?
Yeah, definitely. I remember the first time we used blood capsules. I hit Charlie in the face with a cushion, and he bit into a blood capsule and it made him vomit mid-match. That was on the trampoline. I had another match on a trampoline next door at Charlie's house. He had a trampoline as well, which we also used. I got hit in the nose with a cushion on the zip, and I remember I had a blood nose, and we all got fucking losing our minds about there being real blood in one of our matches. We were just fucking going off about it, just being like, this is so sick, like, real blood. Other than that, probably that's about it. Like, we used to use ladders and shit, but it wasn't like full on. Like, just a lot of it was fucking around unofficial matches. The biggest memory I have was that we would always make the Royal Rumble the biggest show, like, and that would most notably be a birthday of mine, and my dad would hire out a bouncy castle, and
you'd have the Royal Rumble.
We'd have a full match card and stuff, but it'd always lead to just like fucking around in the end. But we always had like heaps of fun doing it.
And you'd have matches on the bouncy castle.
Yeah, a lot of matches on the bouncy castle, and this is in the WZWA backyard that we have now.
Yeah,
but it was just one big bouncy castle. Everyone from school would come, and we'd all just like wrestle and have fun. Really
excellent. I'm hoping that the wind, ladies and gentlemen, isn't affecting this interview too much, but we'll continue on. It's quite windy out here. Why did it fold?
I just think a lot of people just kind of grew up by about year 6. You know, everyone in 2006, 2007 went through the phase of fucking loving wrestling. Like, everyone that's my age now come up to me, and then whenever they bring wrestling up with me, like, for example, I was with one of my mates who's 21, 22 now. Me and him just met up for a bit because we DJ'd at this after ball a couple months ago, and I had to give him the money. I had to pay him for it, like, to come with us. The money wasn't a big deal. We just met up, you know, chilled for a bit, stuff like that. And then he brought up, he's like, "What's this rumor going around that you have a wrestling ring in your backyard?" And then he would always bring up, he started just bringing up memories from around the era of Batista and Undertaker and Rey Mysterio. Just the typical people always bring up.
Yeah.
And what was the question again?
Oh, just why did the federation fold?
So people would go through the phase of like that era, like 2007, WrestleMania 23, so on, like around that time. And then people would grow out of it by about 2009. That's what I've noticed. And it just folded because people grew up out of it. I even had a phase where I wasn't watching much around 2008, and then got back into it shortly after. Me and Charlie got back into it. Other than that, everyone else kind of just grew out of it.
Okay. How was ABW formed?
Alright, so in year 8, you know, when I was in year 7, I had Chris Parker on Facebook. Didn't know him, didn't know why I had him on Facebook, but he'd always see me like share wrestling shit.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I just had no shame back then. Like, I would always be posting WWE shit on my Facebook, like links to highlights. Like, I remember one was like I posted the WrestleMania 17 TLC match, and I just posted my thoughts with it. Obviously, everyone on my Facebook can give less of a shit other than Monet and Chris.
Yeah.
I played footy with both with Monet, so he already knew I was a wrestling fan. He always got amongst my posts. But Chris, on the other hand, he would always message me being like, "What do you think of this? What do you think of that?" Shawn Michaels and Undertaker was my favourite feud. Shit like that. So I remember when I was in year 8, starting at Ocean Reef, Chris Parker came up to me on the first day of school and just comes up to me and just goes, "John Cena's a faggot." And then from there, like, he messaged me on Facebook being like, "Hey man, that was me at school, haha. Are you still into wrestling?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And he's like, "Oh, cool, like, we should hang out sometime." So I think after a few weeks of me being at Ocean Reef, starting high school, he came to my house one day, and then he saw my trampoline have ropes on it, and he goes, "No way, you've got an actual like ring in your backyard. It's a trampoline with ropes around it."
Yeah.
And we just decided to have like a practice match, like just fucking around heaps. And we were just like, we should. I told him about how I used to do this thing called GBYWN ENA, and he goes, "Oh man, we should totally do that again. Like, I've got mates that are into wrestling." And so that's how it formed. And then we were the first 2 members of ABW. He brought over Luke Harrop one day. Luke Harrop liked wrestling. He was a closet wrestling fan though, so he'd always prefer like his videos went online.
And I've seen that picture of him and Rex on the trampoline, so he might be also a closet homosexual.
Yeah, you never know. I'm pretty sure he's a crackhead now, but you know.
So that guy is also known as Prides, but yes, continue.
So I remember one day it was me and Chris, Luke Harrop, and Charlie was there. Charlie became our camera guy, and he's still our camera guy whenever he's not being a whipped cunt. We got Monet over for the first time. So it was the first time me and Luke had hung out outside of football.
Yeah.
And we did a thing where it was like initiation, because Chris was always the toughest, was always the roughest on the trampoline. So we were just like, all right, we're going to put Chris and Luke in a 30-minute, no holds barred, just fucking street fight sort of match, except there was no pins or submissions. It was just if you can last 30 minutes of Chris, you're joining.
Yeah.
We're going to let him join in regardless, but we just wanted to see Luke just get beaten up a bit because he was a little fucking brown kid. And Luke pretty much just got destroyed on that trampoline.
Yeah.
And then from there, we just started posting our videos onto Facebook and became ABW, Australian Backyard Wrestling. Stupid name, but for a fed, but it was sick.
That's alright. What was ABW Dark Origins? Was that the name of the actual fed, or was that just the name of the...
We wanted to do a thing where it was kind of like WWE Raw, WWE SmackDown. Not a brand split because we didn't have as many people, but we wanted to give it a name, like ABW Dark Origins Presents, and it'd be like a match or like a show, like a card or whatever. Like it was kind of like an event name that was a permanent event name.
Gotcha.
And I remember Chris made a Facebook group which became our first thread, and we just pretty much just called it ABW Dark Origins roster, and that's where everyone was. Like Chris named it Dark Origins after a book, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's all I remember from the Dark Origins thing. I don't think we really used it to its effect though.
Okay. So is the ABW roster, is it just mainly you, Luke Harrop, Rex Regum and Monet?
We had about 9 or 10 people, so it was me, Luke Monet, Chris Parker, Luke Harrop, this kid called Tyler Rawlins, Jai Lee, Ty Coleman. And
Acid was even in there.
Acid was at ABW, that's why we call him an original. And pretty sure there's one more, it might have been just those 7. And it's Kyle Potter. How could I forget him? Yep.
Gotcha. Why did it become ABW?
Me and Chris had a fallout in the middle of 2011, and we didn't talk for a few months, and then we got in contact again, and we wanted to just have a fresh start. All the other guys on the roster kind of just fucked it off, other than Luke Harrop. So we decided, new start. We did our shows properly this time. Like we actually had all the matches in one video rather than separate videos.
Yeah.
And then be highlights and stuff like that. We did it proper, and we just decided we made, instead of Australian Backyard Wrestling, called it Elite Backyard Wrestling, and then from there we just did that, all these different characters. Like it was way, way better than ABW, and we thought it was going to become something big, but of course it didn't.
Yeah. Who's Phenomenal Jim?
No, that's me.
And why? Why Phenomenal? What is it? A second character? Is it?
It's I had about 3 or 4 characters, but I wanted to have a jobber character called Phenomenal Jim, just taking the piss really. Phenomenal, I remember I got from AJ Styles, like kind of taking the piss, but I didn't even use any AJ Styles things in my entrance or movesets. And I can't even remember the origin of Phenomenal Jim. I just remember chucking on random clothes I found in my house and just being like, alright, we've got a new jobber character that ended up being the EBW champion. And he just kind of became like a massive inside joke, just like junior referee and so on. Like he became EBW's jobber.
Okay. Gotcha. I just specifically remember Luke Monet equating the death of EBW to Phenomenal Jim becoming the heavyweight champion.
Oh yeah, he's not wrong. Like Phenomenal Jim is still the heavyweight champion of EBW, and if EBW ever does another show again, Phenomenal Jim will be in the main event.
So, would you say that at this time the outcomes of the matches aren't predetermined? Still, it's still kind of you're just both wrestling until someone gives in and lets the other guy pin him.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, there was a couple matches here and there where, if it was a massive storyline, we had these 2 characters, Dynamo and a Cursorus. Cursorus is my master character, and Dynamo is obviously Monette, but with a fucking pillowcase on his head. And it was just stupid, but those 2 were always feuding over 2 titles at once. We had the hardcore title and the EBW Australian title, which is equivalent to the Intercontinental United States title. Yeah. So our Australian title and hardcore title were kind of together. The hardcore title was 24/7. This is pretty much what burst it open. Was the hardcore title was 24/7 rules, and the Australian title obviously had standard championship rules. So the hardcore title was traded back and forth. Like I think we had about four episodes in a row where Cursorus and Dynamo were doing like a series in different stipulations, and it ended with the King of the Mountain match, which Cursorus won and became double champion. So there'd be some shows where Cursorus would be double champion, or like Dynamo would be double champion, and it was just kind of like
all over the joint, really.
all over the place. And we didn't. I think those were the only matches we predetermined. Other than that, every other match would be a like fight until you can't be fucked anymore or get hurt or whatever. But I remember the Phenomenal Gym Championship victory was predetermined because we wanted to just do something funny like that.
Yeah.
And I think after that's when we kind of started to do more predetermined shit, but like kind of took the fun out of it at the same time.
Gotcha.
Because when we had Jacob join, him and Chris had a hell good hardcore match. Like they just kept going, and they both knew it wasn't predetermined, but they were obviously wrestling like selling and everything. But we didn't. Me and Luke were on camera and shit like that. We had no idea who was going to win that match. Like, and that's kind of why the exciting part of,
gotcha.
of
Okay.
it being not predetermined was sick.
What were you thinking with the names Dusk and Five?
Fuck me. Dusk, shit. I remember on Wrestling Encore / Wrestling Empires, this game that you can download on PC. Go and grab it now. It's sick. I'm not being sponsored by MDK to really say that, but I definitely recommend it if you're into wrestling games for those listening.
It is
anyway,
a good game.
Yeah, it's sick. And then I remember I made a character on there called Dusk. I don't know why. I had no idea. And it was just a random word that popped into my head, and I was like, alright, I'm going to name my character Dusk. And I was like, alright. Decided to use that in real life as well for a little bit at this very, very end of BBW and the start of WZWA.
Yeah.
And then as for 5, that I changed to that because of X-Pac having 6. So I was like, 5's my lucky number, so I'm just going to use 5.
Okay, interesting. See, that there's an interesting story because I actually got my first name Mad Dog from a video game character I created as well. Do you miss those simple days with just a handful of friends on the trampoline?
Yep, definitely. I remember it would always be every single weekend. Chris and Luke and Jacob would stay at mine from Friday to Sunday. All we do is wrestle and edit the videos and play wrestling games and Call of Duty and just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was much simpler times rather than now where you go out and blow shit tons of money on alcohol and whatnot. And obviously having 30 people at your house is much different to having just 3 other people at your house wrestling for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's much more serious and once a month and stuff like this. But this is every single weekend, no doubt about it. Like,
Gotcha.
after school, Chris would come back to mine with me after school. He'd have a bag packed full of clothes for the weekend, all his wrestling gear on him. Monet would come over Friday night, Jacob would come over Friday night. Before sunset, we'd wrestle. Everyone would wrestle each other once, film that, obviously in their different characters, and then we just do up cards. Like, I remember one weekend with Luke Harrop was over as well, so this is before Jacob though, and I remember from Friday we did an episode, Thursday we did an episode, Friday we did an episode, Saturday we did an episode, Sunday afternoon we did an episode, so it's 4 episodes in one weekend, and that was about a good 15, 16 matches that I had to edit over the weekend.
That's amazing.
And it was just much simpler times.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What do you really think of reggae?
Don't get me started on that cunt.
I think that little Caribbean cunt needs to get fucking yocked.
I think like he needs to make a return and just get squashed by Dark Ice or someone.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to make sure that gets booked because I fucking can't stand reggae. Especially when he wishes us a Merry Christmas.
No,
I don't
fuck
fucking
him.
like that at all. I fucking hate that. What do you think of Pride's?
Oh shit.
His career and his departure, obviously, as well.
He didn't do much anything special in his career. Like the only thing I really remember doing with him is having his first match in EBW. He made his finisher literally the most dangerous back suplex you can ever think of. Just gets in a back suplex and flips you over the head, and
That is dangerous.
just dangerous. But luckily it was on a trampoline. His career didn't do anything special. Don't really have much to say about him. His departure doesn't surprise me. I've never had an issue with him though. He's always been alright.
So did he mainly leave because... I mean, he was in WZWA at the beginning, wasn't he?
The very, very beginning. I think at Hard Time 1 he wrestled.
Okay.
And that was the last time he would have wrestled. But I remember
So-
he always wanted to wrestle under a mask because of bullying. He didn't want to get bullied by people for wrestling with us, so he remained under a mask. But eventually, obviously, everyone found out.
Yeah,
So-
gotcha. Well, okay, that's the end of Pride's then. What did you first think of Luke Monet?
When I first met him, I didn't really have a thought about him. I remember it was when he was just like another kid in my footy team, little brown cunt. he always just got like made piss at footy, like always getting hurt, getting tackled, always getting laid out on the field. It was pretty funny. Like he was always the guy we threw in to all the things because he didn't give a shit what had happened to him. Yeah. He was just out there to play footy and just got made piss the entire time. No, he was a nice. I didn't know he was into wrestling until I remember one day I started up my PS3, get a message from someone saying Luke or Blake, from someone called Luke or Blake, and I opened the message and being like, "Hey Jack, it's Luke from Footy. I left a comment on your YouTube channel, have a look at it." So I go onto my YouTube channel, which had all these wrestling videos on there from SmackDown vs. Raw 2010, and I saw a thing called, from Luke's channel, just saying, "Hey bro, it's Luke from Footy, had no idea you're into wrestling, I'm into wrestling too, I just sent you a message on PS3. So I looked at that message and then I replied to him being like, "Oh, like Luke went up from Footy," and he goes, "Yeah, are you playing tomorrow?" It's just like shit like that, and then he goes, and I saw he was playing SmackDown vs. Raw 2010, so I immediately jumped on SmackDown vs. Raw 2010, and just had a match against him, and like from that day onwards, like at training, it would always be talking about wrestling, and became like instantly one of my best mates from that day, just from wrestling.
Gotcha. And what did you first think of Antilochus when you met him?
Well, he messaged me on Facebook because I posted one of my wrestling videos again, but this is one on WWE 12, so one of my hardcore moments videos from a video game.
Because he went to a different school, did he?
Yeah, he went to Prentaville, so this is how I met him. He just said he was into wrestling, but he doesn't want to tell anyone about it, so he told me and Luke. Like,
seems to be a running theme here.
Yeah, he wanted to get around. I told him we do backyard wrestling as well, and I showed him the photos and videos of the trampoline. He goes, "Oh, cool man, like I'd love to fucking come see it sometime." So we invited him over one day. It was hell chill. Like I remember him just like walking up my stairs and opening the sliding door. None of us knew he was there either. Like we thought he wasn't coming till later, but he came.
Yeah.
And then from that day, like onwards, we haven't broken contact with him or anything. Like he was a good kid.
Yeah.
Loved wrestling as well, just as much as we did, and he was pretty good at it too. If anything, he was probably one of the best at the time, even though he only had one match. So he was good.
Did you and Rex always clash back these days?
Yeah. Oh man, the only fights that would happen in ABW, you name it, was me and Chris clashing because we were both the founders. We both wanted to book. I remember ABW's death was primarily because Chris became commissioner, as you can see in the ABW general manager shotgun in that fucking office. We just didn't agree with some of the things he was doing because he was making all the matches. I didn't like some of them. I would have a sook about it. And obviously anyone who has me on Facebook, if you scroll down to my posts in 2012 and 2011, so on, I was a fucking loser. Had a problem with everything, just like I was worse than fucking Dean Malenko or Lance Storm on social media. And we would always clash. Like I had no filter, Chris had no filter. It was just explosive, and it was constant. Like it was just fucked.
Yeah. Just also letting you know, as the weather starts to get worse, we're gonna have to put up the volume in our voices. What did you think of the time Pride's almost stuck his whole hand up Rex Regan's brown arsehole?
Sick, pure.
Why did Charlie the cameraman stop wrestling?
I think he just lost interest in wrestling and didn't want to be a part of like wrestling. Like he's happy to film and stuff like that because he had a passion for the media industry at one point. Very, very brief one, but he always wanted to have some involvement somehow, but not wrestling.
Gotcha. Why did ABW fold? Was it because of the name change idea?
ABW folded. Well, to be honest, to this day, I don't think it's ever really folded. Like I think we changed the name because when we met Dan Zeppelin, we decided to change the name of it because we didn't want to have backyard wrestling in our name anymore. Like we wanted to have a proper, good fed name because we met Dan, found out ICWS, and was like, holy shit, like we need to be more like these guys. This is before we were going to do anything with them. Like we just thought like they were just going to be a nearby fed. We'd have in contact with them. We didn't have any intentions of wrestling with them or anything like that.
Got ya.
And Chris saw there was 4 letters in their names, and he goes, maybe we should have something like cooler than ABW. So then Chris decided, he sent me a name change. I was like, sick, let's just do it.
Yeah.
And I still think ABW is kind of a part of WZWA, but at the same time, it's not just the name change.
Gotcha.
Like I don't know, like it's never really officially folded, but it has at the same time. If that makes any sense.
It does. What does ABW mean to you?
Pretty much my origins of backyard wrestling. Like I consider ABW to be the first proper federation I was a part of. ABW was more fucking around. Like it didn't have any storylines, any championships or anything. EBW had storylines, it had championships, it had match cards, it pretty much just had everything you need. And all the videos are still up on YouTube too, like I'm not going to delete any of those ever.
Yeah.
They're all staying there. And yeah, just EBW is kind of my grassroots, my proper grassroots. Like I don't really consider ENA, XUW, ABW to be a part of my career, but as much as they are,
yeah,
I consider EBW to be the first proper start.
Gotcha. Well, we're moving on now to WZWA.
Yep.
WZWA begins. The early days on the trampoline, Tim and Lowe join. What are your thoughts on Tim and Lowe at that time joining the fray? Were you just because you were in contact with ICWS and they contacted you?
Yeah, we were going to do a thing with ICWS where me and Jacob were going to wrestle for them. Meanwhile, Tim and Lowe wanted to come try the trampoline out, so the way we ran WZWA was the exact same we did EBW. Like we'd always have a match card. It wasn't predetermined until Tim came along. So Tim gave me a message asking if him and Lowe could come try out. So we're just like, yes, sweet, just come on this day. Lowe didn't make it, but however Tim did. Tim had a match with Jacob, which you can find on YouTube. Maybe I know it's on my old laptop somewhere. I'm not sure if it's on our channel, but
yeah.
Tim and Lowe, they came for hard time, the very first hard time we actually had the cages around the trampoline.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we had Lowe and Rex together, me and Tim in the main event, and that was predetermined. So I'm pretty sure that was the first show we did predetermined.
Gotcha.
And just Tim and Lowe being there, it was an interesting insight to how ICWS did it, because this was the first time we'd met them.
Yeah.
Tim kind of educated us in a way on how to run a fed, and also on top of that, like how the guys from ICWS do it. And we took notes from that, like referees, for example, came in next.
Gotcha.
At Ground Zero they came in, and I just feel like the trampoline days were much simpler, but I much prefer the ring days because I had more fun when we got the ring. It felt more like a wrestling show when we got the ring in, so like I don't really miss the WZWA trampoline days. I miss the ABW days, but not WZWA because it just became a bit much, and it's time for a change. Going through a lot at the time as well regarding our wrestling, so yeah, I mean there's a big like gap of about 4 months where we didn't do anything for WZWA. It was just waiting for the ring.
Yeah, so that's interesting to me that the addition of Tim and Lowe changed a few things about WZWA at the time, which I think is pretty interesting. When was it decided? Were you always in charge?
Yeah, I was always even back in ENA and XGW, because I was always the one hosting it. So I was always in charge no matter what. Like even when Chris was like commissioner of EBW, it was still like I kind of had a say.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was always me just because I hosted. So I was always like one of the top people, like not like top in the roster or anything, but like behind the scenes, I was always one of the bosses or whatever.
Yeah. What did you think of Acid joining WCWA in those early days?
Very, very surprising. I remember when we were doing EBW, he used to always just be cheeky at school and always just make comments and just talk so much shit. After he did ABW, like I wasn't going to use that against him or anything, but he was always just like talking heaps of shit with all his mates that always made fun of me and Chris and stuff. So him to come to WZWA after all of that was just hell surprising. I posted a promo at the start of a EBW episode about me coming for Shotgun, and I remember Ty on Facebook was posting on my wall being like, hey man, can I come hunt down Shotgun with you, just taking the piss. And for him to come to WZWA, like I just remember seeing him rock up and I was like, I knew he was coming obviously, but like even for him to ask if he can start wrestling again, I had to question him a few times being like, are you sure you're not taking the piss, like, you know, after saying all that shit on Facebook, now you want to wrestle? Like, I mean, I got no problem with it. I never had a proper problem with him or anything. Like I always liked him, always got along with him. And I even remember, like, in year 8 in sport, we had we're in the gym, and we had the mats from the floor and stuff like that, and Ty and this guy called Finn and a couple others, like, we were just wrestling on there, like, just hell mucking around. So, like, I think Ty was always a closet wrestling fan. I know he still is. Yeah. Definitely. I'm pretty sure some of the guys still hang out with him. I'm still not sure about that, but him joining again was kind of surprising, but I'm glad he did. Yeah. And the door will always be open for him, so...
Of course.
You know.
Of course. When did the first conversation with your dad, Noel, about building a ring take place, and what was said?
I remember it was in the car on the way to school, and I mentioned to him, because after Ground Zero, I said to my dad, we want to build a ring, we want to build a base, and he goes, no, if you're going to if you're going to wrestle in something, you may as well go all out, I'll get you a ring. And I was like, no, surely no, you know how much they cost, right? And he goes, yeah, but I'll just do it for your birthday. That's exactly what he did. We looked on high spots for a proper ring. He got a quote for $900 shipping. And he's like, that's going to be a bit expensive. I can get a mate who can do it cheaper. Obviously, it cost us another $5,000 more for his mate to custom make it. But the size of the ring that we have now would probably be much better than what we could have had. Yeah. So, I'm glad we got it custom made. It took us, 4 years to get the posts fucking figured out, and everything sorted. It took us way too long to get the ropes raised and everything. But, I like how the ring came out. It's for a custom ring, homemade ring. It's pretty fucking good. Yeah. And I'm forever grateful that he bought that for us. It cost us $10,000.
Yeah, $10,000 for that ring. So you see the wheels in motion, you see the ring being made, you see pictures of it and all that. You're probably getting more and more excited as that's taking place. So when did you first hear of or speak to ICWS?
Me, Chris, Jacob and Luke went to an NHPW show. I always knew about EPW. I've always wanted to go to one of their shows, but obviously me being lazy and whatever, I'd never really got around to doing it. And then Chris turned around one day and been like, because he wanted to go professional at some point. He was already in contact with Mana and Brian Bader about doing training there, so we decided to go to one of their shows to check it out. And Dan Zeppelin, fucking long-haired Yahoo, was on camera. We thought it was a girl at one stage. I remember Chris made a comment about Dan being a chick on camera. He goes, who's that girl on camera? Get her number as a joke. Turned out to be Dan, a guy. And someone made a post on the wall, I think it might have been Chris, just saying about how good the show was and that he wishes there was more of this stuff in Perth. Little did we know Schwa, EPW and AAW existed. Yeah. And Dan Zeppelin went on one of our walls. He saw that we had wrestling shit, backyard wrestling on our walls. Because we post screenshots of our videos and stuff like that on our Facebooks, and Dan messaged Chris about it, and from there we just got in contact. Chris got Dan onto me, and then me and Dan just started talking, and from there just kind of got carried away. Gotcha. Got sick.
The weather's picking up now, ladies and gentlemen, so please bear with us at this time. It's going to get loud here, Jack, so we're going to have to keep chipping away at this if we can. Twisted Metal 2012, you and Antilochus wrestle a WZWA showcase match. Were you nervous, and what did you think of the show?
Me and Jacob, fucking hell, we planned the absolute fuck out of that match.
And you can tell, because it was a fucking great match.
We practiced every spot on the trampoline before we did it on the base. I was nervous because I thought the base was going to break my spine. And then I actually get there and it was the softest thing I bumped on other than a trampoline. Me and Jacob were both fine bumping on that. It was meant to be a four-way for the WZWA title between all the originals in a Extreme Rules match, but then the Schwa incident with Ice and Chaos happened, so Chris shat himself, didn't want to come anymore.
Gotcha.
And Monet was too much of a pussy to bump on anything that wasn't a trampoline, so me and Jacob were fuck it, let's just have a 6 singles match. Planned everything from start to finish, and before the match I was nervous as fuck, and we went out there and we did it, we just talking to each other. This is probably the first properly worked match I've done. Yeah. And walking out of there, having Ice come back, I was shit scared of Ice and Chaos coming there. I was so worried about that they were going to bash me or something because of the shit Chris was saying at Schwa. I was in the mindset where they were just full on bogans who just hit people and shit for no reason. And then for Ice to come back there, shake my hand and saying I was one of the greatest matches I've seen from two new guys I've never met before, that was sick. Yeah. Having Chris say it was good, having just everyone pretty much just lick our rims clean from there. It was a good feeling. I was proud of that match. I probably watched when I begged Chris Zeppelin to send me that match over Dropbox. He sent it to me and I watched it probably about 500 times, edited it and put my own version of it on YouTube, and just from there shared it all over Facebook. I was so proud of that match. It was
sweet,
sick.
Yeah, definitely a great way to get noticed from the get-go in ICWS. So, moving forward, how fun was the cage match show at Hard Time 2012?
I remember it was after school on the Friday before it. Me and Chris put the cage up around the ring, and we were just like, "Holy shit, we've actually got a cage around the ring! Like, this is so fucking cool." And we're just doing we're practicing cage spots, like throwing yourself into the cage and climbing the cage and jumping off into the trampoline. Like, we were hell excited for it. Surprised it actually worked out as well as it did. Having the cage around the trampoline was definitely different. Doing matches like a Falls Count Anywhere cage match between me and Tim, and also Rex and Lowe, where Rex and Lowe fucking threw each other through the cage, and the cage actually fell, and it just spilled into a brawl on the outside of the ring. Just stuff like that was just like really fun. Having like because in WWE you never see weapons in the cages, so we wanted to do a fantasy in a cage match and just use weapons in a cage and all that sort of stuff. So it's probably the most fun I've had on the trampoline, definitely.
Wicked. Who is Jordan Eve?
Fucking hell. He is an HPW trainee. Still has not wrestled a match, even though he's been training there for 4 years.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't been in contact with him. He's disappeared. But I played footy with his younger brother, and he was always at so I played football with his younger brother. I didn't know that was his brother though. I'd talk to Jordan over Facebook. I don't know, he was just an NHPW trainee that liked wrestling, and he just happened. I remember seeing him on Facebook, and he had a photo with Jack Swagger, so I added him.
Because he used to be a media guy for you guys, didn't he?
He would do our graphics, but that was about it.
Okay.
And he just was in contact with all of us, despite never coming to a show until one of the WZWA ones in 2013.
He came to that show and he left after about half an hour because no one talked to him. I don't know why, but I've been talking to him. I don't know why. He's
very antisocial sort of guy. Like, he didn't have many friends in high school, to my knowledge, and stuff like that. Like, he's very socially awkward.
Yeah.
Sort of guy. Like, I don't have a problem with him. So if you're listening, Jordan, I don't have a problem with you.
He won't be listening.
So you can stop.
It's okay. He won't be listening.
Yeah, he probably won't be. Yeah, he probably doesn't give less of a fuck.
The ring is made and sits in your backyard. Jack, what's the first thing you do?
Well, the ring, shit, I took a day off school to help out. Because we've been waiting months and months while the ring was sitting in this warehouse. The ring was being welded together and all this shit. Like, you could take it apart, but it was very, very, very tedious to do. So you can still do it, but you have to literally, get someone over to unweld it and then weld it back together. It was just fucked. So I remember when we finally got the planks on there, seeing the ring in the backyard with the ropes all around it, I kept looking out of my bedroom window at it every single day until it was finished. Yeah. Until the first show, I still could not believe we had a wrestling ring in our backyard. Yeah. It was the best thing ever.
This is a childhood dream for many children, teenagers who are wrestling fans, is to have an actual fucking ring in their backyard. So when you actually get in the ring the first time, are you there with the boys and you guys have a little bit of a training session, or what?
Well, we didn't have the padding on there until the day before Frostbite 2012.
Really? Okay.
We had no padding until that day.
Gotcha.
So we couldn't bump on it. We put a little mattress on there. So we had it in the middle of the ring, the mattress, and we were just jumping off the top rope onto that mattress, doing moves onto that mattress, shit like that. It was so much fun. And then finally got the padding on there. I remember Chris, Jacob, and Monet stayed at mine. And all we did all fucking night was wrestle on that ring.
That's awesome, man. Pardon me. There's turmoil behind the scenes before Frostbite 2012 even takes place. Between yourself and Chris, you kick Chris out of WZWA temporarily. What was going on?
Just the usual clashes about booking, because me and him were the bookers at the time. We had a few ICWS guys in the group at the time, so that was you, Dan, Barrett, Mitch, Lowe, Tim, and Ryan. They were the only guys in the WZWA group at the time. We still had people like Aaron and Zibby and Justin in the ICWS group, but not in the WZWA group. They had no intentions. Yeah. And I remember you would have saw us fighting in the group one time, and you would decide, no, fuck this, that is it. I'm not letting this happen any longer. So you decided to take over power, and
it went a little different than that, I think. It went a little different.
How'd it go?
I didn't just decide. You and I discussed the situation with Chris, and I say, come on, man, he's a big part of your federation. You know, you guys are already having problems this early on. I offer my services to book for WZWA.
Yeah, that's it. I remember it was on a public post, though, that you offered the services.
Yeah, and I said, look, I've done it for a while in my past. I think I can help. and this way you guys aren't going to hate each other and we can move forward in a positive direction. What made you say yes?
Bit far back to think why I said yes. I think I just did it just to take the weight off my shoulders, and on top of that, like, I was confident you were able to do it. You had way more knowledge in wrestling. You had more psychology than I did. Like,
were you a little bit worried about, okay, I would like to be in charge, but now with ICWS guys coming in, I might not really know what the fuck to do with people that I don't know very well. Maybe it would be easier if I have this guy help out.
Well, when I was booking the Frostbite card, I remember it was just pretty much dream matches, like fucking stupid stipulation matches. Like, it was a whole clusterfuck card.
That, yeah.
I mean, it would have been a sick card to see, but it was just like, it would have been a great show, but it just had no story behind anything. And I remember having that card just sit there, looking at it, being so excited for it, and then I think the Frostbite card wasn't too much different from it anyway.
I think it was a few changes, but some things did stay the same.
Yeah.
Prior to talking to me about handing over the booking duties, Tim Justice was booked to win the WZWA Championship at Frostbite. What made this idea an attractive one at the time? What did you think when my first decision as booker was to reverse that decision so that you retain?
I was attracted to the idea of him winning the title at the time because obviously not knowing anyone in ICWS and only knowing Tim, thinking he was the whole fucking kit and caboodle, that you know, I kind of just thought, yeah, he'd be a great champion, so let's just give it to Tim. Obviously, that would be the worst fucking idea in the world. I mean, a Phenomenal Jim would be a better champion than Tim.
I remember when I found that out, when I was just about to take over, I said, over my fucking dead body is Tim becoming heavyweight champion of this federation.
And he is still yet to ever win a championship in backyard wrestling.
Well, he's still actually yet to win a clean match.
Fucking hell.
He's never won. The only times he's won a match was when he beat Dan Zeppelin via roll-up. So that's a cheap win. And any other victories he got was because of outside interference.
That's fucked.
That is fucked.
But
I remember Tim specifically fucking drilling me with abuse when I said that he wasn't going to be winning the title anymore. How fucking dare you come in here and change all of our plans, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro, you're not ready. I'm sorry. I'd rather have Jack as the champion than you right now. And he's, you know, well, to be honest, he actually got more experience than him at that point. But he'd been doing ICWS, so it came across in a different way. But Frostbite 2012 takes place. I don't make the show. I've got depression problems at the time, so I don't get to make the show. But your thoughts and memories on that first show with the ring?
Fucking hell. Waking up, me and Luke woke up. I remember some stupid hour of the morning, like, excited as fuck, because we'd been waiting for Frostbite.
It's like Christmas.
We'd been waiting for Frostbite to take place for months and months. We had to keep changing the date because my dad would be saying, yeah, the ring will be done by this date, so we'd make the date of the show that one, and then we'd have to change it again because the ring isn't ready. So when the ring is finally in my backyard and ready to go, we decided on this date. The date comes around and everyone was coming to mine. Everyone was at my house really, really early, actually. Even the ICWS boys were there really early, and yeah, it's probably one of the most fun shows I've been to or hosted. And I remember just like entire day, nothing went wrong. Everything went smooth as fuck. Everything was just great that day, and just the thoughts of waking up on that day was like waking up on Christmas, pretty much.
Yeah.
And yeah, the match I had with Tim was pretty fun as well. It's a shame we don't have the full match, but we got highlights of it anyway.
Yeah.
And the recap was up that night.
Excellent. Yes, it was a good show. I remember looking at the recap and being very impressed with what you guys did. The following show is Road to Ruin 2012. That's the one that I'm at for the first time. You take on Mykonos in a champion versus champion match. So he's actually the ICWS and GBYWN Australian champion. You're the WZWA champion. And I believe Mykonos wins the match. Was wrestling someone the caliber of a Mykonos at the time daunting for you?
Yeah, because I was going around asking people if Mitch was stiff. Like, I was always shit scared of wrestling stiff people. Going around asking what he's like to verse, because I've never hadn't wrestled anyone from ICWS other than Tim yet. Tim's like Tim. So I was pretty nervous before the match. I remember sitting backstage behind the curtain, waiting for music to hit, just thinking like, fuck, I'm nervous as fuck. We ended up having a really, really smooth match. There's a few botches here and there, but it wasn't too bad. Like, it's probably one of my better matches I've had.
Yeah. Looking
back on that match, I'd like to wrestle Mitch again, but you know, I enjoyed the match. He wasn't as bad to wrestle as I thought he would be. Like, I thought he was going to be really, like...
Intense,
but he wasn't. He was fine. So, I enjoyed it quite a lot.
Yeah.
And the show in general was always a good vibe as well.
Yeah, Road to Ruin was actually a very solid show, and you could see the booking and things that were taking place. Things were starting to roll along, and we were starting to get some character development for different people, and your story with Monet and all that was working quite well. I'm going to segue back into ICWS at this point, because we're doing 2 shows a month at this stage, because ICWS and WZWA are doing monthly shows. You have a few with Ryan Tate in ICWS as you become a member of the roster full time. I want to talk about the infamous kendo stick shot and the fallout from that on the internet, with the pros ripping into us.
Yeah.
I believe it was a bit of Craven from AAW, and also Hayden Zenith was getting on our case as well, making status updates about backyard wrestling. What do you think of this early on in your time in ICWS, and you've created some controversy throughout the Perth wrestling scene?
Yeah, it's a bit early, because I remember I was always posting one spot from each of my matches on the Facebook as its own video, so I obviously chose the kendo stick shot because it was fucking deadly. Like, I wanted to show people from the outside that wrestling isn't all as fake as everyone thought it would be. That's why I would post highlights from the Battle War match, or like the kendo stick shot, stupid spots, like ridiculous shit. And obviously all of my Facebook friends that didn't know anything about wrestling were losing their shit at it. And then the pros I had on Facebook as well, I made sure the videos were public. The pros would see it, chuck a massive silk. It was kind of confronting at first, because I did want to end up going pro. Right now, in this very moment I'm talking, I don't have any intentions to go professional. I don't want to. I reckon all the pros are shit cunts, and just, so just seeing their comments is just kind of immature. Like, I was fucking, 15 at the time.
Yeah.
And seeing them just make comments like that about 15-year-olds having fun. Like, I'm not even old enough to fucking train, and they're telling me to get training. Like, if I came and signed up to your federation to do training, you would tell me to fuck off because I'm only 15.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, depending on who. I mean, AAW probably wouldn't have.
AAW probably would have booked me to win the championship at age 15. You never know.
What was your thoughts on the feud with Ryan? Did you enjoy that? Or was Ryan a little bit intense as well?
Ryan wasn't too intense, but I think it was just that our match quality was pretty piss poor. Like, we were meant to have a 3-match series. I know we had one at Young Wolves Rising, and then I'm trying to remember who I wrestled at the following show at Day of Destiny.
I think you wrestled Knuckles, didn't you?
No, I wrestled Knuckles later on. I'm trying to remember who I wrestled at Day of Destiny. I think I wrestled Knuckles at Day of Destiny, actually. And then Ryan had some sort of involvement, or I had involvement in his match.
Yeah, you cost him a match against EQG.
Yeah, that's right. I had that match of Knuckles, didn't mean anything to the feud, and then I had one against, it was a pick your poison stipulation. So, the match we had at Young Wolves Rising was terrible. The one we had at Halloween Hell was interesting, to say the least.
A bit better.
Well, a bit better, but like after that, I don't think we wrestled for a fair bit of time. I reckon the feud could have been way better, but at the time, my experience, his experience, neither of us had been wrestling for any longer than a year at the time.
Yeah.
So I think, for what, it was kind of expected to be a pretty, piss poor feud, but, obviously nowadays, if we had me and him had a feud now, it'd be way better. Way better.
You've wrestled him quite a lot of times since then as well, especially in tag team matches, and that great main event at Hard Time 2 where you guys wrestled in the submissions count anyway.
Yeah, definitely the best match I had with him was that one.
Working with Knuckles is the next bit. I know that one didn't go very well.
No, I hated that match. No, nothing against Knuckles, just our styles don't clash well together. He's not about power moves, and I'm more about flippy sort of fucking luchador moves, so he obviously couldn't do the moves I could do, and I couldn't do the moves he could do, so it was just kind of like a big clusterfuck. Yeah.
High Octane are formed during the dying days of ICWS at this time. What did you think of ICWS back then?
I remember always being very, very, very excited to go to ICWS. The ICWS shows, fun. I'd treat those like Christmas morning as well, just because wrestling. I was really, really into it at the time. Obsessed with it. So going to ICWS and seeing other people that I know, people that I know just being in ICWS, there's other people doing backyard wrestling. Yeah. So it's a big deal. Knowing that there's other people in backyard wrestling in Perth, in somewhere that's not a trek and a half, was kind of a big deal to me.
Yeah.
So when Luke decided to get involved as well, I was like, all right, sick. Like all the boys I'm doing wrestling with at home are doing it here as well, so this is gonna be like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Me and Luke, doing high octane. Like we were never a tag team anywhere until then. So I'm pretty excited. We got matching gear, matching fucking singlets and shit like that. Like high octane was fun.
Yeah. Hardcore Hell. It's a big show. It's the first night show in WZWA. Premium. That's the name of your tag team at the time. You unite after a bit of a change in storyline. You guys did kind of split off at Road to Ruin, but you did a promo during the day saying that you guys are back together to take on Aston Crude and Alex Stone. Was that daunting? Because I think it was.
Yep. Just a night show in general, bit confronting. I feel like a big night actually. I don't know, just having all the lights and shit there was pretty hectic. Like it was also a pretty packed crowd. From memory, like everyone was there from start to finish, like no one left or anything.
Huge. That was a huge time in the days of WZWA.
And then, I remember when I first got in the ring against you, and you stiffed the fuck out of me for pretty much like 5 minutes. Like after that, I didn't want to go back in. Like I was just like done. So Luke pretty much took the beating.
Had to be done, man. Had to be done.
The trampoline spot was sick. Like I reckon it was a good match to look back on. Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely, and it was like the first real proper tag team match that we'd ever had. In WZWA. I remember because it was Hardcore Hell, there was no rules, but I was saying we got to have an actual proper tag team match so we can actually say we've had a tag team match.
Even though we've had billions since then, but
Yeah. Was the breakup of Premium too early looking back as you turn on him during this match?
Yeah, because we didn't have any storyline behind it. Like no story behind me and Luke's tag team at all. Like other than the trampoline stuff, but nobody cares about that. Like it was pretty much a new beginning from Frostbite onwards. Like having the random guy come out with me at Frostbite, it doesn't make much sense. Like, why is he my manager? Why are we friends?
Okay,
like,
so there was actually no precursor to you guys coming out together at Frostbite.
No, not at all. Like, I feel just like turning on him was a good idea, yeah, but there was kind of no story behind it.
It was way too early then. Because I think at the time I thought you guys had been a tag team the whole time.
No, Frostbite was the first time you would have ever seen me and Luke together.
That's crazy. Hostile Backyard Showdown 2012. This is a big one.
Yep.
You drop the championship to me. You lose the title due to your mic skills.
Yep.
That's mainly why I did it, and also because I was looking to put the belt on a rising babyface, Brian Lowe, and so I would take the championship from you. What did you think of that decision?
I remember you also wanting to say you wanted to legitimize. Yeah, legitimize the title. You wanted to make it legit instead of just something I was holding and whatever. I was fine with that, but however, the rest of the roster weren't. So I remember when you took over booking, people like Eli and DJ were in my ear saying, no, like he's just going to book himself to win the title. And when you actually did, I was like, yeah, they're probably right, but like, who am I to fucking say anything? So then I was nervous before the match because of the way you wrestled on me at Hardcore Hell, so I thought you were just stiff as fuck. And I was like, I'm about to fucking cop a beating for the next 20 minutes. Wasn't bad at all. Like you were much different to work with at a Hostile Backyard Showdown. I think we had a good match. Yeah, definitely.
For sure. All right, that's interesting. I do have more to ask about people getting in Euro at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously the decision to put the belt on myself was not a popular one, but I think in the end everyone understood where I was coming from.
Yeah, looking back on it now, it's the best move you could have done.
Your feud with Dynamo is underway. Revenge 2012, Christmas Carnage, Resolution 1, Feud of the Year. That's how it was voted by the guys in the Federation. What are your thoughts on this great feud that you had with your best friend?
Wow, every match that we had other than Christmas Carnage, let's not speak of that match until we get to it, but man.
I mean, Revenge 2012
was I still rate that in my top 5 matches of all time. Like, that match with Luke was probably one of the best matches I've worked of all time. Like, looking back on that match, everything flowed, all the spots were sick. Like,
and the finish, bro. The finish of that gyro kick from the top. Oh, man. You come off the top rope, gyro kick in midair. Beautiful.
Yeah, that match was sick. I remember editing it the next morning with Luke, just for YouTube, my personal YouTube channel, just the highlights. Me and him were watching back the match and being like, holy fuck, like, that was so fucking good. We're going to do something so much better at Christmas Carnage.
Christmas Carnage comes along. The Extreme Xmas House of Fun match does not go as well as planned. What happened?
I just think it was just like not knowing how to work a House of Fun match. Well, I'd seen highlights of one from TNA back when Raven was doing his thing, but just the.
I mean, the point of ours was mainly, all the weapons were wrapped in.
And we didn't even use the weapons. We used like one or two at most.
Yeah.
And that was where we went wrong. On top of that, I think it was just like none of the spots were planned properly. Like I planned on lighting a sledgehammer wrapped in barbed wire on fire.
Yeah.
And I used links to... Looking back on it, I would have dipped it in methylated spirits or something. Like, or not something that intense, but like... Spray it with something like... That isn't...
Something better than deodorant.
And light it on fire. That would have been a sick spot. Like, me and when I had that spot, totally planned out. The match was just hyped up and then just didn't deliver. And I'm glad we don't have footage from that.
Excellent. And obviously, Resolution 1, you end the feud with a victory over Dynamo.
And that made us 1-1 with the draw. The fucking draw at Christmas Carnage as well. It's kind of weird, but it worked, I guess.
Despite the reviews of the feud going well, you did this psychotic gimmick, which was a flop, despite all protests. And I remember you mentioned in the thread, this is what you wanted to do, and everyone was like, don't do it, this is a bad idea. Despite all protests, you did it anyway. Looking back, do you feel like an idiot?
Yep. I'm very happy we do not have any photos or videos of that. I remember in my mind it was a good idea, but then when it came down to it, it was just like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Like,
Did you have inspiration from anything in particular, or was it just...
Not really, just wanted to do something different. Like, wanted to kind of just be like, I've lost my mind obsessing over Dynamo, and now
Gotcha.
I want to end his career, but obviously I'm just glad I dropped it by the next show.
Gotcha. J7 Bloodstone is released from WZWA around this time. What did you think of his short stint and his departure?
I reckon just J7 Bloodstone in general was a waste of time. He didn't do anything special.
He just wrestled masked characters the whole time.
And it was just a bit of a waste of time, really. Like, I wouldn't rush to get him back anytime soon.
No.
It'd be good to see him come back for one more match or whatever, but like...
I mean, I'd like to have him in a Battlefield Brawl.
I used to see him all the time, like, just out and stuff like that. He was always telling me that he always wanted to come back and he wants to come in the next show. And like, he'd always be saying this straight to me. But I haven't seen him in a fair while, actually, now. He's kind of just disappeared off the face of the earth now he's got a girlfriend. But I'm still in contact with him.
Yeah.
He's a good guy, and he's always saying he wants to come back, but he just work commitments, and also just him getting around to doing it, like procrastinating it. It's not working out for him, so I'm not really going to bother. Anytime he brings it up, I'm just not going to take him seriously about it. Like, I'm just going to say,
He's had
whatever.
many opportunities, and recently he was going to be in the Battlefield Brawl match, but on the day he couldn't do it because he was called into work. Yeah. But no real loss there. But I'll still give him another chance at the next Battlefield Brawl, or even the last show. Yeah. But I'm certainly not going to invest that much time in him. The influx of more and more ICWS guys. So you're getting your Three Dogs, you're getting your JD Flames, you're getting your Mike Delcanos. Which ones were you happy about, and which ones maybe not so much?
I was happy about Delcano for obvious reasons. Guy's a machine, still is. Clint Marshall as well. Yeah, I was always a massive fan of him in ICWS. Three Dog, I didn't really care less about him being in the Fed. Like, it was good. He was a good big guy to have there. But I think the main guys I was really happy about having with Clinton and
Clinton Delcano.
Yeah, from their Iron Man match, I just remember seeing that and just being yeah, sick.
Amazing match.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Tim retires and comes back as Shinigami, as he's an EPW trainee. So he wants to still wrestle, and so I'm saying, well, you've got to be under a mask then. Okay, no worries. What were your thoughts on Tim around this time? Maybe not too much drama yet.
No, I was pretty civil at this time. Like, I was just like, yeah, Tim's coming back to wrestle under a mask. I was pretty excited about it, actually, because I'd been pestering him to come back as Tim Justice, but obviously EPW calls, so Tim had to do what he had to do. Yeah. It wasn't too much drama. I think he was pretty easy to work with as well at this point. I'm sure he was easy to book, and he was doing whatever he was told, maybe. I obviously wasn't booking him.
A little bit.
But he
still
was
unhappy about not getting as many victories as he'd like.
Oh, he was very Nazi about the whole EPW thing, though. He was also trying to talk down to everyone in their matches and shit like that, just trying to be the big professional wrestler. That never happened. Yep. But no, as far as I know, he was fine around this time.
What did you think of Antilochus getting the bigger push out of the four originals out of the gate?
I wasn't too fussed about it because there's this thing with the rebellion. So Brian Lowe, obviously being champion, would have helped him a lot, considering he's involved with him. I was fine because me and Luke were doing our own thing, and I was obviously getting good reception. Chris was doing next to fuck all, and Antilicus was, I was perfectly fine with him getting the bigger push because I also obviously thought very high of him at the time.
Yeah.
So, I didn't have a problem with him getting the big push.
I know that there was a little bit of jealousy on the part of Rex and all that.
Oh, yeah, Rex always wanted to be the top guy.
He was not happy about Jacob being... And, then it would turn into Jacob sucking up to Carl, and it's like, no, I picked him specifically because I saw something in him.
Well, Chris's attitude back then was very different.
And that's why I'm getting to my next bit. What did you think of Rex being pushed down the card due to his attitude at the time?
Did not surprise me one bit, and that's all I have to say. It just didn't surprise me at all.
Of course, as soon as I took over, you, Jacob, and Monet warned me about him. He's going to be like this, so watch out.
Yeah.
Oh, he'll be fine. No, he wasn't fine. Okay, we're going to have to cop a few losses, Rex.
Yeah, and he definitely had a lot to say about it.
Yeah. You brought in Lightning Lewis around this time, so you were the one that ushered him into the Federation. How did you know him, and what did you think of him when he first started?
I knew him through one of my mum's friends. He was a little bit of a rat. But he was alright. He wasn't like he was going around stealing cars or killing people or fucking...
Yeah, I remember meeting his dad and having a beer with him at the night shows.
No,
he
he's...
seemed like a real nice dude.
He came from a broken family, family of dropkicks. A lot of my mum's friends were dropkicks, so, my mum also asked me, because, Lewis, coming from broken families, having lived with his grandmother, and she always moving houses and stuff, never had a chance to, have any proper friends, and hence his bad upbringing, and hence why he's... I don't know, if he's in and out of jail or whatever, it's not his fault, it's just the way he was brought up. So my mum asked me to bring him in because he knew our group of friends was just always had each other's backs, always none of us were criminals or anything, none of us were fucking dropkicks or doing anything.
Been a good influence.
Good influence, that's the word I'm looking for. And my mum was confident that we would have been good influences, and we were, because apparently when he joined WZWA, he was doing less shit, getting in less trouble, wanting to better himself more, but that obviously didn't last too long.
Yeah.
If he was still in it now, I can definitely imagine his life would be much better than it is right now, but that's none of my business to be publicly talking about.
I'm trying to get into contact with him again. I just want to see if he's all right, but he's not really on the internet.
As far as I know, he's in and out of jail, and also with my mum not being around, then, I don't hear much about him.
The last thing I remember was that he was going to rehab down south for a little while. Anyway, we'll get to Lewis a bit later on. Here comes the big one. Around this time, there is rumblings about people trying to get me overthrown as Booker. I want to ask you point blank, who was it and what was their plan? Rumour was it was DJ, Monet, Eli and Rex. DJ has denied it. Monet has denied it. Who approached you and what did they say?
Straight out of the gate. Road to Ruin 2012. Well, first of all, Monet had nothing to do about it. So Monet was fine. He did not give less of a shit. He just wanted to wrestle. Chris was skeptical, but he wasn't trying to overthrow you or anything until you obviously booked him, de-pushed him. That's when he was kind of getting a bit shifty about it. Road to Ruin 2012, DJ and Eli took me around the corner and they were saying he's just going to book himself to be champion, be very careful, you should put us on. They gave me a full match card, full set of storylines.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm no bullshit.
DJ denied it.
No, DJ's talking shit then, because DJ and Eli, more Eli than DJ. They wanted to start booking WZWA, and they had a full idea they gave to me. They pitched all these ideas for every single wrestler on the card. They pitched cards, pitched fucking ideas and everything, and I just said, I'm just going to let Carl do his thing and see how it pans out. And I just kept them, on the edge of their seats waiting for an answer, but I never gave it to them, and that's when they gave up. So DJ denying it, you're talking shit.
So Monet had nothing to do with it, because the only thing I remember hearing is Rex contacting Mitch to try and get Mitch on board. Even though Mitch and I were having issues at the time, Mitch said no.
Yep. No, Monet did his own thing, and Monet didn't care. All he wanted to do was wrestle. Chris he never really tried to overthrow you until you started pushing him, but he wasn't trying his fucking heart out or anything. He was just...
So it was DJ and Eli.
DJ and Eli, yep.
Well,
more Eli, but...
looking back, boys, guess who gets the last laugh? Guess who gets me? I get the last laugh. How dare you? You're supposed to be my friends at the time. That's not cool. That's not cool. And for you, DJ, to deny it to my face, come on, bro.
When did he deny it? Recently?
He denied it in his podcast.
Oh, interesting. Talking shit, DJ, alright.
All right, interesting. Well, yeah, I did book myself as champion just so I could give it to Lowe. That's the only reason. You helped set up at a few Schwa shows, is that correct?
Yep.
Was it around this time?
More in the middle of 2013.
Okay, so it was a little bit later on.
But yeah, I can still talk about that.
What did you think about it? While you talk about it, I'm going to grab some beers.
The primary reason I was setting up for Schwa was because Eli needed a cameraman. At the time, my passion was media. I always wanted to be in the media industry, where it's photos, videos, so movies, film, TV, fucking anything. And Eli needed a camera guy, and he saw my work when I used to film for WZWA, and he noticed my filming was the most stable out of everyone else. So Eli asked me to come on board. I came down with Tim, and I didn't set up heaps. Like I always set up them because they knew I was going to be standing around the ring for the next 3.5 hours filming their shows. So they didn't get me to do too much.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys there, like everyone there, was so fucking nice. Like behind the scenes, the Schwa guys aren't as bad as everyone makes them out to be. Like,
oh, of course, they're really nice. Because they want trainees, they want people involved.
I feel just like they were pretty welcoming. Amanda, I know she's not listening. She's a bitch. Everyone knows that. I didn't have a problem doing Schwa shows. Like, I mean, I wouldn't do it again. Like, I kind of said, it was a waste of Saturday night, but it wasn't too bad. Filming for him wasn't too bad, but maybe I wish I got paid, but I didn't get paid. I got nothing out of it.
No one got paid. Even Just Mike, who made their DVDs and their flyers and all that stuff, he did a lot of hard work for them, and they didn't even want to pay him $50 a month.
If they asked me to come back now, I'd be asking for money. Like, I was too stupid not to ask for money back then, but you know what? Like, it was fun while it lasted.
Interesting. Okay, so getting back to Resolution 1, we did mention your feud with Monet and all that. Featuring the main event of Aston Crude versus Brian Lowe with fireworks and a real big show feel. You battle Monet, obviously, to end the feud. What was your thoughts on that event?
The event in general was probably that one. I reckon I still rate that in top 10 WWA events of all time. I reckon just the timing of the event, like the time of year, the weather, everything about it just went super good. Like, me and Monet's match as well, I loved the timing of it, like from day into dark. By the time our match was over, it was night time. Start of the match, it was still, the sun was out. Like, it was fucking awesome, and also the fireworks were definitely
the fireworks were amazing, dude.
And we didn't have to pay a cent for them either, so it was pretty like good.
Unfortunately, that bloke, what's his name?
Ruffy, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think he's lost his pyrotechnics license.
No idea why, but oh well, it's not really.
Maybe because of shit like this, who knows?
It was sick though.
Yeah, it was really great, and I was always very appreciative of that bloke coming in to give us some fireworks. What did you think of Lowe's rise within WZWA?
It took me by surprise that you were pushing him so much, because when I was booking him, I did fuck all with him. Like, I always saw him as the powerhouse he's going to be with Jacob. Obviously, you had that idea as well. Like, those two go together like two peas in a pod.
Yeah, they wanted to be a tag team bad.
They wanted to be a tag team. They both look similar. They wrestle similar. Like, they're both just fucking... Those two are probably the best combination I can think of in the WZWA, other than me and Luke.
Yeah.
So those two, like, you know... I didn't have a problem with Lowe being like pushed like that, but I don't think he had the look or the attitude for it. But obviously, this is 4 years ago. My memory's not that flash.
Yeah, at the time, his attitude was fucking on point, and he was so excited, and he was so motivated, and he wanted to be better, and he wanted to cut promos and do all the right things, and so
yeah, because he was always hanging out with us. He'd always come to mine before the shows, and we'd always fucking play video games all night, and then wrestle the next day / night, whatever it was. Yeah, he would always be one of the first people there as well.
Cool. What did you think of the Elite Alliance story against the Rebellion?
It's probably the first big time storyline that we had. I don't remember too much of it, considering I wasn't involved in it.
Yeah.
But I remember the War Games match I was super excited for, like some of the stupid spots we had planned. Like, I remember we brought the TV down, didn't end up using it.
No.
Thank fuck.
I was like, there's no way we're using that.
No, I remember the War Games match in particular was kind of the big highlight match for me throughout that feud. I quite enjoyed most of the feud. I mean, I personally, like, I don't know if you've got any questions about my thoughts on EA, but I thought the entire thing was just kind of like dragged out a little bit, but that's just me. Like, some people like their feuds to be dragged out over fucking ages. Some people like them to only be 3 shows long. I personally like them to be half a year long at most, but that's just my opinion. But
it was by design. It would go too long.
Because people the point was you want everyone to be fucking sick of these guys.
Yeah, like I actually wanted legitimate disgust, you know?
Yeah.
And even like when we were doing it, we were like, oh god, like another fucking run in, another beat down, this is getting boring.
Yeah.
But it had to happen in order.
Well, looking back on the entire thing between us Tuesday, everything worked out fine, and even EA now, like if say someone was to whip out an EA shirt mid-segment now, people would fucking pop for it. You're like, holy shit, like these cunts, like...
Be a nice feeling, nostalgia.
Yeah.
Aftershock. Oh, a dreadful performance against Lightning Lewis. The performance itself makes me change my mind on what's happening with you, and I say to you, look, we need a reset and go back to you being a babyface and working with Monet. Monet is on the rise, whereas you weren't doing too well because you were still on the tail end of your psychotic gimmick, but not as much. You're not doing the face paint and stuff like that. But how did that make you feel, that match, and also me pitching to you the idea of trying to do a storyline where you try and reform with Monet?
I think it was a bit too soon to be doing the reforming with Monet, but the match in general didn't really have anything behind it because it was just a tournament match.
Yeah.
I don't think I took it seriously, and Lewis, obviously not being a wrestling fan but wanted to be involved, he didn't know too much about planning matches, working a match, anything like that.
Okay.
On top of that, at the time, I could only work with certain people.
Yep.
I can see my fucking breath. I could only work with certain people. I could only work with people that can lift me and people that can do flips and shit like that. So working with Lewis was a nightmare. I can't do power moves. Lewis is too small to be taking my lucha moves. Same deal with Knuckles. Luckily, it was a hardcore match.
Yeah.
And I just remember taking that infamous fucking Lightning Lewis dive over the top ropes that now Steel is famous for.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know, looking back on the match, I'd rather forget it. I'd rather forget that match. But I'd like to work with him again, but it would never happen. Never, ever.
Wham Bam Body Slam. The next stage in the tournament. You take on Kilowatt Chaos.
Yeah, fucking hell.
How daunting was that one?
You didn't tell me I was working with Chaos. Like, I actually kind of worked it out myself, looking at the tournament brackets.
Yeah.
So I saw Chaos versus Tim at Resolution. I knew Chaos was going over. Just looking at the brackets, I knew I was going over Lewis. So I was like, there's only two more people I can fucking... There's only one more person I can fucking wrestle in this tournament, that's Chaos.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have a death match with Chaos. And like when I realised that, I'm pretty sure I came up to you at the next ICWS show. I think it was that fucking... That taping that they were doing that never went through.
Oh, yeah.
I still want to see Chris Zeppelin, if you're watching this, I still want to see my match with Antilicus and Rex. Because that was sick. Anyway, so... I remember coming up to you at ICWS and you were laying on the floor on the grass, and I came up to you and said, I don't want to work with Chaos in a death match. And you were just like, no, like, it's going to happen. And I was like, fuck. So it came down to the match, and I remember, like, on the day I wasn't too nervous. Before it, yeah, I was a little bit nervous, but, like, when the match actually came on, like, I was fine with it. Like, taking the gore through the table did not hurt one bit. Like, working with Chaos was pretty fun.
Chaos is actually really, like, he looks like he's stiff, but he's pretty soft out there, you know. He lays it in when he needs to, but he's really not too bad to wrestle.
Yeah, I haven't wrestled him since that match, so definitely like to see what it's changed about him. But then again, over the last couple of years, I've kind of toned down a lot on my effort in wrestling. So be interesting to see where we'd be now, though. Yeah,
hard time too. How did you meet Circus Royale?
AAW anniversary, I can't remember the name, it was 2013 one.
Yeah.
This little kid came up to me and Chris, and he was just like, that girl over there thinks you're hot talking to me. It ended up being Kyle's sister. Following that, she adds me on Facebook. And then
she would have been like 11 or something.
No, she was
12.
I'm pretty sure she's only a year or two younger than me, so this would have been she would have been 13, 14. I was like, alright, whatever. She added me on Facebook, and at the time I accepted anyone. I had no idea who she was until she messaged me.
Yeah.
So I was like, alright, what the fuck, this is a bit weird. And then she mentioned, she saw one of my wrestling posts on my wall saying, hey, my brother does the same shit as you. And I'm like, hang on, what are you talking about? She goes, the backyard wrestling. I was like, there's another Fed and Perp that isn't us. And she's like, yeah. And then she sent me her brother's Facebook. I added Kyle on Facebook. And I messaged him about it, just being like, hey man, like, we're a Fed up in Mullaloo, we noticed you guys do it as well, would you be interested in coming down and having a look? And he goes, yeah man, that'd be sick, can my friend D can come? And I was like, alright, too easy. They came to hard time to day one, had a tryout match, all of us really fucking liked them. And
yeah, great dudes.
And I'm very, very, very glad that we took them on board.
Me too. They've been a fucking godsend to the WZWA. Interesting to get your take on the situation, and that totally correlates with what Kyle and Deacon said on their podcasts about Kyle's sister having the hots for you.
Yeah.
Lowe wins the heavyweight title. What do you think?
It's surprising, but I kind of knew it was already going to happen. Like, you don't have a feud that lasts that long, not have the other guy, the babyface, win the fucking title.
Yeah.
Like, that's just kind of like getting everyone's hopes up and wasting time. It's a bit like Lauren Reed teasing Tim. Like, it's not going to happen. So anyway, I was happy with him winning the championship, but I didn't like the way he went about it. Like, you know, after that he kind of just dropped his efforts. Like, it's kind of like when he was
100%.
He wins the title, and after that he just stops giving a shit, like, because he's already got it.
It's something that's very prevalent in people over the years. Once they reach that ultimate goal, well, where is there to go from here? So they lose their focus, they lose their motivation.
Yeah, because it's not like there's anything above that in what we do. Like, the next thing above us is professional, but no one wants to do that.
No. Acid makes a surprise return to WZWA around this time. I believe it was Hard Time 2.
Yep.
He wrestled
you.
Afternoon Rocker on day one,
yep.
and then the following week he wrestled me. What was your relationship with him like back in the day, and were you surprised again to see him back in the Warzone?
I was more surprised this time because I hadn't spoken to him until since he departed WZWA. Like, I wasn't in contact with him at school. Like, he was just in the group that don't like me. Like, he was in the group at school that bullied the fuck out of me for wrestling. Mm-hmm. So for him to come back and be like, hey man, like, sorry for all this shit, like, you know, like, everything I said before about him being in EBW.
So it happened a second time.
Happened again, but this time it was like, it felt more natural. I was fine with him being there as long as he wasn't taking the piss or, like, you know, being a dickhead about it. And to my surprise, he was there for a very, very long time for this time. He was there for a good year and a half, almost 2 years after that, and that was good to see. And, like, especially, like, him being there, like, we didn't talk at school at all. But on weekends at WZWA, whatever, we were like, fucking hell, good mates. But at school, we did not look at each other. Like, we pretty much just acted like we didn't know each other at school.
Gotcha. Well, that's interesting, because at this time, when he did return, he didn't want to be Acid. He wanted to be a masked character called Apex.
Yep.
I said, no. I said, you can't. You got to be you. You have a different look than anyone else. You can't be a masked character. You just got to get through this shit with people at school if they're going to give you a hard time.
He didn't get a hard time at all. Like, everyone was like fine with him doing it, but the moment me or Chris fucking step in the ring, it's like,
it's gay.
World War 3, just fucking like, it's gay, you're a faggot, you're a gimp. But the moment Ty steps in there, it's like, oh yeah, whatever, it's just Ty wrestling, who cares?
Okay, still Kemsley debuts and gets kicked out of WZWA soon after due to his behaviour in the thread. What did you think of this at the time? Was it you that brought him in?
Oh man, how the fuck do we know him, eh? I don't have any idea about
how you got Steele involved.
No fucking idea.
I think it was more Monet. I don't know how. I don't know.
I
can't remember.
I can't tell you. Like, I think he might have. No, I got no idea. But I just remember him in the thread was a nightmare, and then when he came back, he was fine.
Yeah.
It's like he went to rehab and fucking came back with a totally different attitude.
Totally different person.
And now he's fucking one of the boys.
Definitely. You engaged in a three-way feud with Monet and Rex, trying to gain Monet's trust back in the storyline. Were you interested in this, and did you like the storyline?
Yeah, I enjoyed the storyline. I also really, really enjoyed the matches that we had. But that three-way last man standing match was dope. But I'll get more into that when the question pops up. But I enjoyed it. It felt like I was back at... it felt pretty nostalgic. I mean, it wasn't too far back that it was on the trampoline, but it also felt like a really, like, close to home nostalgic sort of feud. Like, I was working with boys I'd been wrestling for years. So it was pretty fun, like, wrestling that. I'd definitely do another feud with those two again, but obviously now we're in a stable, so we can't really do that. But, you know, I enjoyed it.
During this time, you said you didn't want to actually have a singles match with Rex, despite the storyline. Why was that?
I have no idea why I said that. Like, I don't even remember saying that. Okay. But I can only imagine it's because of how stiff he is.
Yeah. This led to a tag team match against Ice and Regan in the franchise's return tag match as a team. Actually, before we get to this, let's talk about that three-way last man standing match.
Yep.
That was a big match for you three to have at the time. It was the first of its kind as well, a three-way last man standing.
Has it even happened in real, like,
never
in professional?
Happened before. So what did you think of that?
Yeah, that was an exciting match. It was just like, me and Luke and Chris have done so many three-way hardcore matches on the trampoline. It was a ridiculous joke. Like, and then when we found out we're getting booked for that, we just like, you know, it felt like old times again, but in a fucking ring.
Yeah.
So it was like a dream come true, and on top of that, there's no rules, last man standing. Like, it was just like, we just wanted to go all out for it, and that's exactly what we did. And I still rate that as one of my best matches today. Like, it may have dragged out like fuck, but the storyline called for it.
I think it was cool as well with the planned spot of you taking the bullet for Monet at the end there.
Yeah.
To,
I remember just how cold it was that night, and that kendo stick shot was just fucking painful.
Yeah.
Because like I remember when you watch back the match, like you can see everyone in the crowd, like when they're breathing, it was a cloud of fucking steam.
Yeah,
and it was just like, it was that fucking cold.
Fucking hell. But anyway, I thought it was a nice little touch to end the match where you take the bullet for Monet to prove that you want to be in a tag team with him again. The franchise returned as a tag team against Ice and Regum at the first show as a team. Ice refused to lose to you guys, despite the fact the following show Rex would actually be beating Monet for the Aussie title. So that's why you guys were going to win the match, but Ice refused. How did this make you feel?
I'm trying to remember. I remember me, Luke, and Chris had a group chat planning this match, and I don't remember any details about it, but I remember Ice not being happy about losing the match. I can't remember why he was acting that way. I think it was just something to do with like me and him. Like, it would just be unrealistic. Me and Luke, two little fucking small cunts beating big bad Ice, and Chris, who's a fucking machine and a half at the time, just going off like in the ring. Like, I think it was just more of a realistic, like in a real life fight, who would win. Obviously those two would crush me and Monet. So I think that was the only issue. I can't remember. Obviously, if Ice is listening to this, he will definitely tell us why, but I just don't remember why. I didn't have a problem with losing it either, because if Chris did need a bit of momentum going into that championship match, so I think it was a better idea. I think looking back on it, it was better that they won rather than me and Luke. I mean, it might have killed our momentum, but Luke still doesn't trust me. How are we going to win a match if you can't trust each other?
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Around this time, AAW wrestlers and management were coming to our shows to watch and pretty much scout WZWA talent. Tell me about your Friday night training sessions with them in the WZWA ring, teaching their rookies in a homemade ring, and what ended up happening with AAW.
Well, at the time, it was on Sunday mornings. It came down... so, February 2013, before Aftershock, Shark messaged me and noticed... he told me that he saw a photo of Mitch in a ring, and he asked Mitch whose ring it was. Mitch referred Shark to me. Shark sends a massive message, pretty much like fucking a resume. Like, yeah, I've trained with this guy, I've trained with these guys... trained with Lance Storm, like...
Wants WZWA to become a developmental
territory. It was just like, he literally...
It's true, I've got the screenshots, so don't deny it.
Yeah, pretty much, like, Shark wanted WZWA literally become Sunday Night Heat.
Like, send his AAW rookies to wrestle on a backyard wrestling show, I have the screenshots.
It's fucked up. Like, if any of the other professionals, like fucking APW management or any of them saw it, like, that would literally kill AAW. Done. Like, that would be done. But, he came to me, I had a massive plan, I was like, alright, whatever, you can come to the next show, bring whoever you need to bring, like, come see what we're about. Obviously, Shark did for the next few months. Mm-hmm. Before all the politics and shit came out, like, I thought they were really good guys. Obviously, I know that was just a fucking act, just to
get us.
But I don't regret anything from being involved with them, because, I mean, I got to fucking pick up Paul London from the airport and chill in a car with him for 2 hours, like... me and Luke had really fucking good conversations with Paul London, and that was a sick experience, especially at the time, me being such a big wrestling fan. Like, that was a massive deal. And Shark giving me and Luke opportunities to do small things like that. Like, you know, I'll always thank Paul, Shark for doing that, but it doesn't change the fact I still think he's a dickhead. But nowadays, I would not do that again. I wouldn't let them train in my backyard. I mean, the training sessions weren't too bad, actually. Like, doing training with them did help me in some departments. Having them come to mine on Sunday mornings and train eventually Friday nights as well. Like, it wasn't too bad. Definitely helped. Like, I wouldn't say that their trainings are bad. Yeah. If you're terrible at wrestling or you've never had it, like, I'd still go to them, because they, you know, I've trained with Shua as well. Like, I saw what their training sessions are like. They're almost identical. Like, people will say what they want about AAW's training, but at the end of the day, like, it's all the same thing. Like, taught me the exact same way that psychology that Schwa tried to teach me when I was involved there, but luckily I'm not now. And I just feel like, looking back on all that, I wouldn't do it again. Definitely not.
Right, this will be the last question of this section of the podcast, Jack. How did you and Luke Monet come up with the name The Franchise?
Luke had nothing to do with that. I was in the shower, and I added you and Luke to a group conversation on Facebook, and I mentioned to him the idea about being a higher class, sort of like big, sort of like rich sort of guys, and I was like, we should call ourselves The Franchise. We come out wearing suits, you know, we're like, unlike our previous stable was all about just like two kids fucking wrestling, being like energetic, like kind of like the Young Bucks. But this time we're going to be like the Four Horsemen, but there's two of us, or Evolution or whatever. Like Evolution was a massive inspiration.
Gotcha.
So I wanted us to be like high mid-carders, main eventers, wearing suits, fucking flying private jets, arriving in limousines, sort of shit like that. Like, gotcha. I loved that sort of gimmick. That's what Premium was meant to be, but obviously it was much different then. So The Franchise, I came up with that name in the shower. Don't know how. And then I pitched it to you and Luke in a group chat, and you guys seemed to like it, so we just stuck with it, and now
it's become one of the most synonymous things in your career thus far. All right, Jack. Well, that will be the end of part 1. I need a piss. I'm sure you need a piss.
Yeah, I need a piss.
So we'll be back with you for part 2, ladies and gentlemen, where we'll continue on with 2013 into 2014, the 2 biggest years that WZWA ever had. So thank you for listening. We'll be with you for part 2 very shortly.
Sick.